You know that feeling when you step outside on a really clear, dark night, like way out, far away from the city lights?
Oh, yeah. Out where you can actually see the Milky Way.
Exactly. You look up at the sky, and there is this, this immense, quiet feeling of awe.
Hmm.
You're looking at the universe, this massive expanse of stars and galaxies, and it feels incredibly vast, but it also feels, deeply ordered.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. Ordered.
Right. Because the physics of it just makes sense. You've got gravity, orbits, mass. It is elegant and, well, more importantly, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're attempting to bring some of that cosmic order right down to Earth.
Which is quite the task. But there really is a profound comfort in the elegance of that night sky.
Yeah.
You're witnessing literal cosmic laws working in perfect harmony. I mean, since we know a bit about the mechanics of the universe, we understand that every celestial body out there knows exactly where it sits in relation to the others.
It's totally predictable in a way.
Right, exactly. The mass of one object dictates the orbit of another. It's a beautifully balanced system.
It really is. Until, you look down.
Yeah, the illusion shatters.
It does. You pull your smartphone out of your pocket to check your calendar for the week, and suddenly that feeling of elegant cosmic order just completely vanishes.
Replaced by sheer panic.
Totally. You look at the triple booked meeting slots, the unread messages just piling up, the monthly installment reminders, the social obligations you agreed to like 3 weeks ago and now completely dread.
We've all been there.
Right. It feels like absolute chaos. Suddenly, a promotional email offering, 20% off a mattress feels like this urgent life or death crisis. You're just being pulled in 1,000 different directions at once.
The contrast is jarring, to say the least. You go from observing the quiet majesty of a galaxy to feeling like your entire attention span is being ripped apart by a glowing rectangle.
Yeah, it's wild.
And what we typically do to solve that feeling of being pulled apart is, well, that's where the real problem begins.
Right. The typical modern response to feeling that chaotic fragmentation when we feel just entirely overwhelmed by the sheer volume of our own lives is to go out and try to acquire more things.
We try to add to the pile.
Exactly. We download a new heavy mindfulness app, or we buy another self-help book, or we try to adopt some incredibly complex 10-step morning routine.
The morning routines.
Right, the ones that involve like plunging into ice water and writing in a gratitude journal before the sun even comes up.
Yeah, we feel the chaos, and our immediate instinct is to add more mass to that chaos. We hope that something will eventually stick and sort of weigh it all down.
But it doesn't, does it?
No, not at all. All we are really doing is adding more variables to an already overloaded, unstable system.
Which is why the mission for this deep dive is so fascinating. Right. We are exploring a genuinely mind-bending set of notes and translated transcripts today that completely flip that script.
Yeah, it's a totally different approach.
It really is.
Yeah.
The central thesis argues that fixing this feeling of overwhelm isn't about adding anything to your life at all. Instead, it maps human consciousness and spirituality directly onto the astrophysics of a black hole.
Which sounds crazy at first.
It does. But we are going to help you understand how visualizing your own sense of self as a literal physical singularity is the ultimate highly practical hack for cutting through the noise.
It's a radically counterintuitive approach to self-awareness. I mean, we usually think of spirituality as something deeply mystical, almost ethereal, right?
Yeah, very woo-woo.
Exactly. But the source material we are looking at today grounds it entirely in physical laws, concepts we already understand, like mass, gravity, and cosmic expansion.
So cool.
Yeah, the argument is that the fix for modern overwhelm is an inward return to what the notes refer to as your originality.
Okay, so to really grasp what that inward return means, we had to look at your baseline. And the notes have this great analogy. Think about a brand new smartphone right out of the box.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to visualize it.
Right. Before you connect it to Wi-Fi, before you download a single app, before the group chat notifications start pinging and the messy cache data slows the whole operating system down to a crawl, what is it?
It's completely pristine.
Exactly. It is pure, unadulterated operating potential. It's fast, the battery is at 100%, and it is completely silent. That is your psychological baseline. That is you before language, before culture, before the expectations of society really got a hold of you.
And this is where the astrophysics metaphor really kicks into high gear. Because in cosmology, we know that before the Big Bang, the universe was a singularity.
Right.
We're talking about infinite density. It is the entire universe, all of its matter, all of its energy compacted into a single silent point before time and space as we know them even began to expand.
Wow.
Yeah, and in this framework, your true, unadulterated self, your originality, operates by the exact same physical logic. It is dense, silent, and brimming with perfectly compacted potential.
The sources phrase this as containing 100% of your potential energy. And, the crucial detail here is that this singularity isn't something you create.
Right, it's not a construction project.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
don't build it from scratch by reading enough books or attending enough seminars. It is already there. You don't have to go out into the world on some grand external quest to, quote unquote, find yourself.
Because it's literally impossible to lose it.
Right. You just have to uncover what is already perfectly compacted at your core.
This fundamentally shifts the paradigm of personal growth. You aren't seeking some external enlightenment software to install into your brain.
Yeah, no new apps required.
Exactly. You are trying to reveal and sustain that unique original signal that is already broadcasting from your core purely by stripping away the external bloatware.
Okay, but if this pure silent singularity is our natural state, the immediate question is, well, why do we wake up feeling like a scattered mess?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. If the singularity is your inner core, the external world is the Big Bang. The moment you are born, and especially as you grow into a functioning adult with a career and a mortgage, there is this outward expansion.
It's an explosion of demands, really.
Literally. Society, career demands, social media comparisons, they're constantly pulling your attention outward, away from that dense center.
Just as the physical universe is constantly expanding outward from the point of the Big Bang, the external world acts as an aggressive outward expansion. The forces doing the pulling are categorized in the notes as the cosmic debris.
Cosmic debris, I love that term.
It's very fitting. Your overflowing inbox, the 24-hour news cycle, the expectations of your peers, the pressure to upgrade your lifestyle, that is all debris. And the notes outline a very real physical danger here, which is fragmentation.
Yeah, the sheer physics of fragmentation makes this so terrifyingly clear to me. Energy is finite.
Right.
If you take the dense energy of a singularity and stretch it across a massive, continuously expanding universe, the energy per cubic foot drops dramatically. It cools down. It thins out.
Exactly. When your attention is caught up in the debris of 100 different social expectations and micro tasks, your sense of self literally thins out in the exact same way.
You just get diluted.
Precisely. You feel empty and exhausted at the end of the day, not because you lack something, but because your energy is fragmented across far too much debris. You are spread too wide, and your psychological temperature drops to near absolute zero.
Okay, I have to jump in here, because I am struggling with this metaphor a bit from a practical standpoint.
Sure, lay it on me.
If I'm putting myself in your shoes as the listener, I'm hearing this and thinking, wait, isn't the Big Bang of life the entire point of being alive?
It's a very fair point.
Right. We can't just float in a dark room forever, refusing to interact with the world like some unactivated phone. We have to work. We have to raise families. We have to engage in our communities. We are supposed to exist in society, not hide from it.
Oh, and the framework completely validates that pushback. What's fascinating here is that the outward expansion isn't evil, and it isn't something to be avoided.
Okay.
Yeah, it is simply a physical reality. The universe expands, society demands attention. The danger is not the existence of the external world itself. The danger is allowing yourself to be entirely swept away by the debris because you lack a counterforce.
Counterforce. Okay, because if we follow that trajectory of just expanding outward, eventually you lose all connection to your original source.
Exactly. You become the debris.
You become nothing but debris yourself.
Yeah.
Floating further and further into the cold dark, purely reacting to whatever bumps into you next. I have absolutely had weeks where I felt exactly like that.
Most of us have, honestly.
Yeah, I wasn't initiating anything. I was just a rock bouncing off other rocks in space, reacting to the next email or the next crisis without any core purpose.
We were entirely defined by the collision. So the fundamental question becomes, since we do have to live in this expanding, noisy universe, how do we keep from being completely fragmented by it?
Right.
This is where the concept of internal gravity comes into play. Because the world is always trying to pull you into its expansion, you have to consciously maintain a pullback toward your center.
Which leads us to the black hole metaphor. The sheer immense mass of a black hole prevents things from escaping its center.
Yes.
So you have to increase your own psychological density.
Yeah.
You must give your internal values more weight than external expectations.
Right.
But I actually have another pushback here.
Go for it.
Black holes consume and destroy everything they touch. If I become incredibly dense and cultivate this massive internal gravity, don't I just become an immovable, stubborn jerk to my family of my coworkers? I mean, I'm just absorbing everything and letting nothing out.
That is a very common misunderstanding of the physics we're applying here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We aren't talking about the event horizon, which is the point where not even light can escape and everything gets crushed.
Right.
We are talking about the mass at the center that dictates the orbits of the things around it. Psychological density doesn't mean emotional rigidity or, becoming a sociopath.
Good to know.
Right. It means your core values are heavy enough that external pressures orbit you rather than displacing you.
Orbit you.
Yeah.
Okay, the translated transcripts use a meteor analogy that actually clarifies this perfectly. Imagine your boss gives you some genuinely harsh criticism on a project.
The classic workplace collision.
Totally. If that criticism holds more weight than your internal values, like
Yeah.
if you lack internal density, that criticism is going to hit you like a meteor strike. It will shatter you and completely displace your sense of self for days.
It's because you allowed the mass of the external debris to be heavier than your internal core.
Right. But if your internal core is dense, if your internal gravity is strong, that criticism just passes around you like a harmless meteor.
Exactly.
You feel its presence, you acknowledge it, you might even learn from it, but its gravitational pull isn't strong enough to move you off your center. It simply orbits your mass and passes by.
The goal isn't to stop the universe from expanding, which is impossible anyway. The objective is remaining so dense and grounded in your original state that the external noise cannot scatter you.
It makes so much sense when you frame it like that.
It does, right. And this naturally brings us to how we map this cosmological physics onto our actual daily routines. The sources use 3 core pillars for this map.
Right. Originality, spirituality, and maintenance. And I have to admit, when I read the notes on the second pillar, spirituality, I balked at first.
Really? Why is that?
Well, we usually think of spirituality as sitting on a mountaintop, burning sage, or, trying to achieve a permanent state of bliss. But these sources turn it into something almost militant.
It is a radical departure from the colloquial use of the word, for sure. Let's establish the baseline first, though.
Okay.
The first pillar, originality, is the signal. This is your singularity. It is the pure, unfiltered essence of who you are before the world attempts to categorize you.
Got it. The unboxed smartphone.
Exactly. Then there's spirituality. We usually think of spirituality as the destination, or we think of it as the mystical signal itself that we are searching the universe for.
Right.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The sources define spirituality purely as the shielding. It is a protective layer.
A protective layer. It shifts the entire function of spiritual habits, doesn't it?
Completely. Practices like meditation, deep breathing, or simply taking a walk without your phone in your pocket, they aren't meant to magically generate enlightenment.
You aren't going to add a glowing aura to your life.
No, exactly. They are strictly defensive tools. They form a defensive perimeter, a localized force field, designed to block out the cosmic debris so your pure original signal can broadcast without static interference.
The notes actually use the concept of an FM radio, or cosmic background radiation, to explain this static.
Oh yeah, the FM radio analogy is great.
Right. The external world is filled with this persistent, low-level radiation left over from the Big Bang. It's the noise of 100 different expectations, advertisements, and opinions trying to penetrate your mind at once.
It's just a wall of static.
Exactly. And if you don't have a shield, your internal signal gets entirely drowned out by that cosmic static. The shield of spirituality blocks the radiation so you can actually hear your own singularity.
And because we are dealing with physical laws here, we have to account for entropy.
Entropy, the enemy of order.
Exactly. The second law of thermodynamics dictates that any closed system naturally moves toward disorder and decay over time. Your psychological shielding is not immune to physics. A shield gets battered.
Right.
It takes microscopic damage from the constant bombardment of the cosmic debris.
So, like, every time you casually check your work messages on a Saturday morning, a microscopic crack forms in your shield.
Bingo.
Every time you get pulled into a dumb argument in a comment section, the shield degrades, which is why the third pillar maintenance is absolutely required.
Maintenance is the active application of that internal pull. Gravity isn't a one-time switch you flip and then just forget about for the rest of the year.
I wish it was.
Don't we all? But no, it requires immense active exertion. You have to continually recognize when your attention is drifting too far out into the debris, notice the entropy degrading your shield, and deliberately pull your focus back to the core.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
the ultimate goal of all this effort, understanding your originality, utilizing spiritual shielding,
Yeah.
and committing to constant maintenance, is to operate as what the notes call the prime mover.
The prime mover, yes. Most people willingly hand the remote control for their emotions over to the outside world.
Totally.
Someone cuts them off in traffic, they become angry. A colleague praises their outfit, they become happy. Their internal state is entirely dependent on the random collisions of the debris.
Which is an exhausting way to live.
Extremely. But by maintaining your internal gravity, you stop being a mere reaction to the universe. You become the prime mover. You act from your own dense source. You dictate the play.
So how do we actually execute this? What does this mean for you, the listener, on a typical Tuesday morning?
Let's ground it.
Yeah, let's take all this theoretical astrophysics and put it in the reality of your kitchen. You're waking up, the kids are having a massive meltdown over breakfast, your inbox is overflowing with urgent requests from clients in a different time zone.
Sounds like a nightmare.
Right. You're already running 10 minutes late and you haven't even found your keys. How do you engage gravity in the middle of a screaming match?
Well, we can walk through the cognitive mechanism of the before and after here.
Okay, let's hear the before.
Normally, in that chaotic scenario, the moment you open your eyes and hear the screaming or see the emails, your energy shoots outward into the expansion.
You become the debris.
You immediately become the debris. You are stressed, you are scrambling, and you are spread incredibly thin before you even pour your coffee. Your identity in that moment is defined completely by the anxiety of the external world.
You are experiencing ultimate fragmentation. Like we said earlier, your psychological energy per cubic foot is essentially dropped to zero. You are just reacting to the sheer volume of the room.
Exactly. Now, let's look at the after. If you are actively using this framework, the external situation remains exactly the same.
The universe is still expanding aggressively.
Yes, the kids are still screaming, the emails are still there, but your internal physics shift. You pause. You cognitively recognize that outward pull trying to drag you into the fragmentation.
Okay.
And instead of reacting to the volume, you mentally drop an anchor into your core value.
You engage the shield. You visualize the noise as static that physically cannot penetrate your mass.
Yeah.
You literally tell yourself, this noise is not my signal. My values carry more weight than this morning's chaos.
Exactly. The mechanism isn't some magic spell. It is a deliberate cognitive shift where you re-weight the inputs. You decide that your internal calm is heavier than the external panic.
The difference this makes in how you actually move through the world is just staggering to think about. You aren't ignoring your responsibility.
Not at all.
You still sit down and answer the emails. You still resolve the meltdown with the kids. But you execute those actions from your dense center, from a place of compacted potential energy.
You dictate the energy rather than letting the debris dictate it to you.
You are acting as the prime mover. You aren't stretched thin. You are operating from a core that cannot be moved by the frantic rushing of a Tuesday morning. It really is an incredibly grounding way to view your own mind.
It gives you your agency back.
It really does. Well, let's summarize the journey we've taken through these sources today. It starts with acknowledging your pre-Big Bang original singularity. That pristine state of self, brimming with potential, already exists within you. You just have to clear the bloatware to uncover it.
Then you have to recognize the inevitable outward pull of the world's noise. The cosmic debris is constantly trying to thin out your attention and drop your energy temperature through fragmentation.
Finally, you actively use the persistent practice of internal gravity, protected by the defensive shield of spirituality, to maintain your dense center. You let the rushing debris orbit you without displacing you.
Beautifully said.
Thanks. That elegant order of the night sky we talked about at the very beginning of the deep dive, it isn't just out there in the vacuum of space. If you manage the debris, that exact same elegant order is inside you.
You know, I want to leave you with a final mind-bending thought from the sources that builds on this entire astrophysics metaphor, but pushes it into completely new territory.
Oh, wow. Okay. Let's hear it.
We've talked extensively about how a black hole's immense mass and gravity anchors you against the debris. But in astrophysics, immense gravity also does something else. It physically bends time.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it's a phenomenon called gravitational time dilation. So I want you to mull this over as you go about your day. If you truly cultivate a psychological singularity that dense, could your internal gravity actually warp your perception of time?
Oh my gosh.
Could staying intensely rooted at your heavy center make the frantic, rushing blur of the modern world literally feel slower to you? It poses the possibility that cultivating your internal mass gives you all the time you need while everyone else around you is still spinning wildly in the chaos.
That is a phenomenal concept to consider the next time you look at a triple-booked calendar and feel the panic rising. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We invite you to test your own gravity against the expanding universe today. Catch you next time.